Max figured me out. He cracked the code. I was wrong, don't you know? I have a shirt with this on it. It's pretty terrifying. Apparently, I was wrong because I failed to completely explain the tax code. Somehow it went to where I said you are only taxed on your income. Now, I couldn't find in the video where I said that. But maybe I did. Who knows? But what were we talking about? Were we talking about, let's say, property taxes, Max? I don't think we were. Your illustration of how if you grow trees on your property and then you harvest them and build a house out of them all through your own labor, you'll be taxed on the improvements to your property. Sure, probably. But then again, if you're growing lumber, maybe you're getting taxed on the value of the lumber that's on your property. I mean, we could get into the weeds on taxes. He's right that I'm not a tax attorney. The firm I work for does not do tax law. I mean, sometimes you have to kind of get into it a little bit around estates and things like that. So I have perused the IRS code for things, but I'm not a tax attorney by any stretch of the imagination. But I am not a family law attorney. I am a general practice attorney. The firm I work for handles civil, criminal, family, probate, all sorts of things. I got to write and file articles of incorporation today, so yay, go me. All sorts of things, but we don't do tax law. So he's correct in that. As far as so I mentioned that if somebody made a pot, like some pottery, then they wouldn't be taxed on it until they sold it. And I believe I'm correct. Now, Maximillionaire thinks that if you're doing it in the course of business, that you would be taxed on the value of your inventory prior to selling it. Maybe. That might be a state law somewhere. He says you would also, if you bought a kiln, you'd be taxed on the value of the kiln. If you're doing it to actually produce things, maybe. It depends on your state. Not every state does that. Only the blue states tax manufacturing machinery. And I know in buying things for business, like I worked in trucking, and as in my position, I would talk to our accountant because, you know, sometimes we had to buy new units, new trucks, new local delivery trucks or new over-the-road semis. And he was always happy when we bought new machinery because, number one, we'd be generating more income. But number two, he would get to depreciate the value of that machinery, which means that we would actually spend less in tax. Obviously, we'd have the initial outlay of taxes, the sales tax for it, vehicle tax, you know, licensing taxes and things like that. But then he would get to depreciate the value of that unit. And semis are expensive, so there you go. But I was wrong because I didn't go into the weeds. Now, if you actually look at what we were talking about, let's, oops, I don't want that. We're going to go to, there we go. What were we talking about? We started talking about it somewhere around right in about there.
Can I ask you a couple questions?
Absolutely.
When do you think it is justified to take something from somebody else that they've earned?
Like my taxes.
Like
Take something from someone else that they've earned, and then if you heard his wife, like my taxes. So they're setting up the scenario.
Taxes.
No,
I think those are good to be taken out every year.
Good to be every year.
Every year.
So you think that you're entitled to a certain percentage of my income?
Nope, I didn't say that, did I?
Who brought up income? Who brought up income, Max? Your straw man's crumbling there, buddy. Your straw man's getting a little weak, brah.
Okay, I'm curious then. So the answer is no then. You don't think that you're entitled to a certain percentage of my income.
I'm not entitled to any of your income.
Okay. Is anybody?
Your wife is.
Okay.
Your kids are.
Okay. Is my neighbor?
No.
Okay.
The state is.
Who's the state?
Who is the state?
All right, we're getting into the weeds here, but then somewhere around, we pick it up again somewhere around.
And then they tried again, and the Constitution was born.
Okay, so this entity that exists is entitled to a percentage of my income and my labor, right?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
of your income, yes.
Income and labor. He is setting it up. Those are the two things that he gave me. He's not talking about property taxes, Max. He's not talking about, I don't know, investments in manufacturing machinery. Is he?
Yes, of your labor, no, but your income, yes.
Okay, but my income is a product of my labor, isn't it?
My income is a product of my labor. So I think I've made my point. Max, your straw man was weak. It was frail. It's really, I feel very happy that the only quibble you could find with my semi-inebriated conversation with Mr. Freeman is that I didn't delve into the finer points of the tax code that were off topic. So thank you, Max. Thank you for proving that I was right and you couldn't find anything to fault me for. Have a great day.